Hey there, you're watching the Jessa Channel on YouTube. I'm Jessa, and today I am here with the final part of my hood creation tutorial series for The Sims 2. This is the series in which I have shown you step by step how I created Acanthop Isle and how you can do the same to create your own beautiful custom hood for The Sims 2. In this section, this final episode, I'm going to teach you everything I know about hood decoration and lot placement so you can get that really cohesive, tight, villagey feel that I went for Acanthop, or you can use the tips that I give you to make your own style. You might want to make something that's more downtowny, more post-apocalyptic, more city feel if you'd like, but these are the tips that you can use to get the same sort of beautiful living type of hood that I have here. So let's start from the top. Over here on Acanthop Isle, the first tip that I want to share with you is the tip we all want to know the most about. Where do you get all that awesome custom content that you use to create this neighborhood? There are 3 people that I'm going to recommend that make awesome neighborhood decoration type custom content. The first one is over here at Mod The Sims. I have up this page. This page is for a creator called Cricket. Cricket is spelled C-R-I-Q-U-E-T-T-E, just over here. And Cricket is the #1 first stop for amazing custom content for your hood, for decorating your hood. Cricket has created a numerous amount of sets here. The road bridges set, the bus transit set I'm picking out the sets that I've used the most. The Marina Piers set, the mini ferry set, is another one that I used quite a lot. But the main one that I wanted to focus on is the bridges set. One of the things that you can do in SimCity 4 is you can create bridges that transfer over to The Sims 2. The reason why I did not choose to use those bridges for Acanthop for a couple reasons. One, they're a little bit finicky when you transfer them over. So sometimes the land is raised in a funny way. Now, I just gave you that tutorial for modifying the neighborhood terrain, the tutorial previous to this episode. So if you haven't checked that out, I urge you to do so because it will help you to work out some of those kinks when you transfer over from SimCity 4. The other thing, though, is that I appreciated being able to place the hood deco exactly where I wanted it. Now, since I don't have cars in my neighborhood, I have used a mod by Hexameter, Hexameter at Mod The Sims to make the cars that you normally see in a neighborhood disappear. I found that they were very distracting to the eye after a while, so I just have them turned off. They're actually still there. And if I go into over here, you can toggle the day and night mode. And I'd be surprised if some of you don't yet know this. This is a feature that came with Nightlife. And I never see hoods at nighttime, but you can change the toggle and turn it to nighttime. And it'll take just a little bit there. And boom, it's night. And this is helpful, I suppose, if you have a downtown hood, for example, that has a lot of spotlights that you can use. Spotlights are one of the hood decorations that come with the game, with Nightlife. But you'll also notice that the cars are still whizzing around the street here. I'll wait till one comes along here. And you can see them there, and you can see the headlights, but the cars themselves are invisible. So if you want to have like a creepy ghost town look with invisible cars at night, you could go that route. Your creativity is limited only by your imagination and, well, what the game can do. But that's a neat little feature there. And so the day-night toggle is hitting the L key, L, or just clicking the day-night toggle over here, where my mouse is. I'm going to put daylight back on, though, because creepy ghost cars are not my thing. The Cricket is the #1 creator I recommend, and Cricket did numerous pieces of my hood. This red bridge here that you see, the railroad itself, I'm going to pick it up is a Maxis item that I want to say came with Bon Voyage. And look at this. This is quite neat. There's a little side effect here. There's a, I just saw it there. Look at that. Underwater train. I suppose if the train would sit there, I could put it here. Like that. And it would just sit there, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, so, I mean, but if you want to go with some sort of underwater train hood, you could do that. These red pieces here are part of the bridge set, and I just want to tell you, these bridges are well done when you zoom in on them. And so that comes with the Cricut set. They also have, for example, if you zoom in, you can see electric, oh, train! Oh, I love that train. Anyway, you can see the electric poles here along the line. So all I did was I combined the railroad from Maxis with these red train bridges here from Cricut. The other thing that I use from Cricut is this bridge over here. I love this bridge. And I've taken numerous pictures of it that you would have seen if you are subscribe to my website, thejessachannel.com. But anyway, this bridge is I find much more visually interesting than the bridges that come with Maxis. There is one Maxis bridge that I am using, and that is here. This is a base game bridge. And the reason why I chose this bridge here is because I consider that the Sovereignty Isle was one of the first places that was colonized in this world, when the folks came and staked their claim to the land. And so this bridge is kind of an old historical bridge that has never been taken down or replaced with something more modern. It also is a way to visually denote that this area of town is an older area of town, which is why the houses are all dark or similar color to the rocks around here and to the bridge. Coming back over here, the next creator I wanted to share with you about is a creator who's responsible for this neat thing here. These walkways, I believe, are by Cricut. I have to remember where I get everything from. The Modest Embankment set is another set I highly recommend by Cricut. But the other person that I was going to point out to you, and I forgot to bring their page up, but I will do so right now, is... there we go. Is Psycho Sims. Psycho Sims is got a live journal, and for those of you guys who often ask me where you can get custom content, the best place that I know of is to get involved in the Simbler community, which is the Sims-oriented Tumblrs. So at tumblr.com, make your own Sim-oriented Tumblr and begin to get connected, because that's a lot of where people post things. And then they also post things on their live journal and Dream With accounts. And so, you know, getting involved in that, and, you know, with live journal and Dream With, or at the very least, getting connected at Garden of Shadows, where people will post their updates, is where you find the best custom content nowadays. Psycho Sim has a lot of things regarding, neighborhood stuff. For example, Psycho Sims is excellent for harbor themed deco. This is a great set here, and that recently came out in December. Some submarines. Psycho Sims tends to focus on things that are dark, gritty, grungy, post-apocalyptic city stuff. So I don't use as much of their stuff as I could, because it's not Akanthop style, but I definitely use his boats and harbor stuff. So these are some things here from Psycho Sims, and I believe I also have, yep, these fantastic tugboats here, older tugboats, are from Psycho Sims. So that's the next person I recommend. The last person I recommend is, say it with me, all at once, Plastic Box. Absolutely. Plastic Box over at Mod The Sims is responsible for most of the houses in Akanthop. I spent a good deal of time searching for houses that were tiny and could be closely put together. So Plastic Box has done, for example, all of these houses along here. All of these. Plastic Box revolutionized how Sims 2 builders could put houses directly next to each other, so that it created a without a border between the houses. For example, looking over here, you know, these houses all have a strip of land between them. You know, they're not directly connected. So the Plastic Box was the one who, well, in part revolutionized this way of building. So Plastic Box is over at Mod the Sims. I don't need to pull up his or her page because it's very easy to Google Plastic Box and find that. So let's move on to the tips. Now that I've shown you the custom content creators that I have used, some of them, there are a lot of other custom content that I've gathered over the years. But if you want to get started, that's the first place to start. Those 3 people. The next tip to give you is the most common mistake I see when people try to create their own hoods or create something similar to Acanthop or something that's, you know, small and workable in this way is that they create things that are too big. They think in human sizes rather than in sim sizes. So one sim can only take up 1 grid space. That's all you need to remember. For example, if you want a nice feeling park in the central of your world that has rolling hills and maybe a little pond and all that kind of stuff, what most people will do is go to the largest lot size, say 5 by 5, and try and plunk that in the middle of their world and make a big old park. But the bigger you get, the more that you get things that don't look sim size. They don't look right to the eye. They're too huge. A lot of you guys can remember when we first got the game, we would make these houses that I know I'm guilty of this, made these huge houses on 5 by 5 plots where it would take the sim 20 minutes of our time to walk from the kitchen to the bathroom. What makes hoods look unrealistic is that people don't generally build their houses way away from each other on huge plots of land that separate each other. Think small. Think in sim size. Smaller is more functional, it's prettier, in my opinion, and it's also easier on your computer resources, but it also creates, more importantly, something that looks real. It looks like people could be walking down the street in this world because I haven't built things that are sprawled far apart. So that's tip number 1, and I'm going to put that on the screen. Oh, wrong sheet here. Tip number 1 is think in sim size, or I should say tip number 2 is think in sim size, not in human size. The next tip that you see up on the screen is about using small lots. Whether you enjoy building your lots or whether you enjoy downloading your lots, I urge you to think small. And for those lots, you're going to need to download them because the smallest lot that comes with the game is a 1 by 3. What I'm showing you right here on the screen, this red block here, is a 1 by 3. That's as small as you can get. Most of the lots, and comparative to most of the lots here in Acanthop, 1 by 3 is pretty big. Most lots in Acanthop are 1 by 1, 1 by 2, 1 by 3. That's it, really. The biggest lot in Acanthop, we're in Acanthop right now, this is Acanthop Isle right here, is over here. These parks are 3 by 3. Most of these houses, even the most grand houses, this is going to be, if there ever is like a mayor or somebody of Acanthop Isle, this will be that mayor's house or mayor's mansion or whatever you want to call it. And that house, this is 2 by 2. So most of the time when creators think about grand houses, they start thinking about big lots, 4 by 4, 3 by, the biggest lot, residential lot, in the entire world of Acanthop is here. It's a 4 by 4 lot, and it's a castle, and it's huge on the inside. It has, I don't know how many bedrooms, 10 bedrooms, spaces that can be made into bedrooms, and, you know, a huge library, a huge throne room, a grand entrance, several different, and it's only a 4 by 4 lot, and that's it. That's all you need. And that's not, most of the house isn't even on that lot. Isn't even taking up the whole lot. There's a lot of grounds here. That's it. So my next tip is think small. Rarely are you going to need to use a 5 by 5 lot, because the thing I think that kind of quenches people's fire and desire when they start building their own Sims 2 world is they think too big. I saw a woman who built a hood. I'll never forget it. And she followed tip number 1. She used small lots, but she had one section of her hood that had like 10 or 12 little lots packed up next to each other, and that went on for 4 or 5 streets. So she had like 48 lots. There was no way she was ever going to be able to use all those lots, and as a result, I believe she abandoned it because I never saw it again. So that's just overwhelming. The thing with Acanthop is, even though it looks small, there are, I don't know how many lots. There's over 70 lots here in this. I'm remembering off the top of my head how many lots are in Acanthop. And actually, I can confirm that really quickly. Let's head on over here and take a quick look and see for certain. In the neighborhoods and N001, in the lots file, there is, under properties, let's see, there are 120 lots. There's 120 lots in Acanthop. Wow. I guess kind of low. I guessed half of that. Not even close. So in this small little area, there's 120 lots. And some of those, of course, are commercial lots. But most of them are residential. There's no way I'm going to be able to fill all those lots. So small. If you think, oh, this is too small, it's probably not. Make it smaller. Okay, I think I've drove that point home. The next tip is about Lot Adjuster. Lot Adjuster is a very handy tool right here at Mod the Sims. It is by an incredibly talented modder named Mootilda, who also did something I've mentioned in another episode of the Hood Creation Tutorial series, Hood Replace. But Lot Adjuster 3.5 allows you to place lots in places where lots are not normally supposed to go, or make lots behave in ways that they're not normally supposed to behave, but they're still workable and usable by the Sims. When you get lots in that are really tiny like this, sometimes for whatever reason, I do not know why, a lot will not place. Like, for example, as you'll see here, I had my little 3x1 lot out, and over here, this red indicates that this 3x1 lot will not place here. Well, what if I absolutely have to have that lot there because that's the lot I've picked for that spot, and so there. The way that you can get it to go there is to use Hood Replace. For example, you can place the lot where it is supposed to, or, well, it will place here, and then use Hood Replace to move it up the grid by a certain number of spots and move it over by a certain number of spots to get it to place. So did I say Hood Replace? I meant Lot Adjuster. So Lot Adjuster is a great tool for being able to kind of get lots, tuck them in close to each other. And I used Lot Adjuster quite a lot for Acanthop, because sometimes I might want a lot, and then I might want a piece of hood deco really near to the lot, and it wouldn't place for whatever reason. So that's how I did that as well too. Let's also talk about Lot Adjuster from the standpoint of creating lots that are usable, community lots, but that are not on the road. You see these two lots, this lot right here, I should say, is a lot that is not on the actual road. So how did I get it there? I placed it here, and then I scooted it on back to here. It's still, Sims can still arrive there. It's a community lot. It'll be owned by the farmer here. And it's still usable. So once you begin to use Lot Adjuster to help you out with moving things around, the imagination, like I said, is limited only by how you know the game, basically. And you can use a lot of tools, such as Lot Adjuster, to get around certain requirements that the game puts down. The next thing I wanted to share with you about is the importance of districts. Let's see if I have that in my nice little list here. Yep, I do. Think in districts, think in themes, think of local building materials. I think one of the reasons why people like Acanthop so much is not just that it's very decorated, but that it looks right to the eye, or at least it does to me. Acanthop looks like a real village to me. And the reason why I was able to do that is I thought about how the different areas would look. Like, for example, Acanthop is a seaside town, and it's over here. There's a lot of trees to use for building materials. We also have some colorful trees in here to use for building materials. And I imagine that when people were moving into Acanthop and beginning to build houses and expand outwards, that they would probably gather in a central place, like here in the middle of the map. And they would build their little homes right around the central area. And then as the town grew and more people build, they would go out some So that's why I created a central area. This is maybe the first place that all the people gathered to eat together, and these are the first houses here, and then eventually they knock the first house down and put up a church, for example, or and then maybe they put a cemetery over here. But I wanted there to be a central area, because when you think about most small towns, they have some sort of central area. At least the town where I grew up had a little central area where all the older buildings were surrounded by the commons. So think in that way, and then you make something that feels really realistic. The other thing is that I made districts. This is the University District. This is the Farming District. Over here is called Old Town. Because I figured that after people settled here in the middle of the map, some people would go over here and start settling near the lake first. So I imagined that Old Town was over here, and all the buildings in this tiny little Old Town area look, to me, old. I purposely picked them to look a certain way. Similar in ways, in the way to, say, over here looks. The buildings look, I was aiming for something that looked older, made of brick, been around a while, a little bit dirty, a little bit run down. And then over here is more brightly colored type thing. And then over here, near the railroad, I picked the buildings that would be small, kind of cheaper. You know, these are the railway shops here, and then there's some more railway shops here. These would be like maybe where the poor area lived. Over here is a cemetery type area. So, and then over here, definitely all the beachy lots, because they're right here up against the beach, and so they'd be more colorful and more bright, kind of the way I consider more beach towns are generally brighter type wooden buildings. So I thought in those terms. The one building that is very interestingly colored is the council hall, and I wanted something that looked old but still bright and very, very colorful. And so that's why I designed that building that way. I downloaded it, but then recolored used different clapboard. And then over here, same thing. I went for, and you know, I'm telling you these things because I want you to think about the same. This is how you're going to get a hood that you play for a long time. Over here, I still went for mostly dark colors. We have one bright building here that I need to change the wallpaper on. We have one building of importance, and a very important person with money lives there. So you want to think about the little details. And then over here, I tried to go for a very rundown kind of warehousey built district. There's the crane and the shipping crates and the dump. And so I did my best to grunge it up, you know, which if you guys know me well, some of you viewers do know I don't do grunge very well, but I tried. And once again, choo-choo train. Once again, all the small buildings and whatnot. Now, let's work on the details. You've thought about your hood from a great standpoint. You've looked at how you want it to be laid out. You've created the general shape in SimCity 4. You have put down your roads in a tightly done manner, the way I've shown you how to do, recognizing that you don't need a lot of space in order to lay out a hood. You have added your major details. You've gotten your lots down. Now, you know, you need to start putting in trees. And I recommend putting in the trees and that kind of stuff last. I like to put the lots down first, because I put the trees in around the lots. So that's the order I recommend that you do it in. First, use your modified neighborhood terrain sheet that I taught you about in the previous episode to get your land exactly the elevation you want it to be, to get your coastline correct. And then put your houses down and use Lot Adjuster to tuck them all in the way you want them to be. And then as the final step is the fun step. You've done all that hard work. Now let's have some fun. And that's placing those trees and neighborhood decorations. Once again, a lot of my decorations have been downloaded from CycleSims. The crane is from CycleSims, for example. But Maxis comes with a fairly good amount of decorations. The first thing is I'm going to show you a cute little trick that I have used for many years to add some visual interest to my shoreline. And that is, I'm just trying to remember where it is here. Nope, it's over here in Effects. Yes. You can tell I'm out of practice. So these blue boxes all denote where some sort of neighborhood decoration is. For example, this blue box is this purple shoreline. So you may have been wondering at some point, why do I have a bunch of purple along the shoreline? For the simple reason that for me, it denotes that there is a reef there, or a underwater kind of phosphorescent growth. And the other thing is that I'll turn it off here, it really defines the shoreline. You don't have to use purple. I use purple. There's a couple other options that you can use. There is just here, blue and purple wildflowers. And the thing is that these were originally meant to go along the hills over here, like this, to kind of, give some color to your hills, or they can go anywhere that it will fit. But I love to put them along the shoreline because, to me, first of all, that immediately highlights that there's a big dip here, that this, without them here, the water around the coast looks somewhat flat to me. So that was a little trick that I learned, that you can actually stick these underwater. You can use orange if you'd like. That might make an interesting shoreline depending on what color you were going for. And the other one this is the purple I'm using. That same purple. There's also this red. Interestingly enough, some of these, and I think it's just an oversight with Max's, but some of these can go in the water. And some of them can't. And these red flowers cannot. I just don't know why. The orange flowers cannot. So you have a choice between your blues, which can go in the water. I think the blues are the only ones. Look at that. I apologize. I do not remember where I got these flowers that go into the water. So the blue and purple wildflowers came with one of the expansion packs, and they're the ones that go underwater. My memory served me that one of the other ones did too. You may want to check into that yourself. I swear that they did. Anyway, I have a hope that one day a handy modder will come along, and I've been meaning to make a request and make it so that all of these wildflowers can be put underwater. I'm sure it's just one tick in SimPE that you need to undo. But anyway, moving on, that's the first trick. The next trick is to think once again about our natural world. When I live by the coast, in the upper Pacific Northwest, and so I would take walks on the beach and look around at the beach and look around at my town and memorize how it looked, and then come back and try and create the same look in Akanthop. For example, these wonderful little canoes come from, let's see, where do they come from? I think they're from a set by Cricket. I think they are, I'm trying to remember where they're kept. Here they are. Let's see if it says. Unfortunately, yep, they're by Gwenke. Gwenke, Gwenke. And unfortunately, I don't remember where I got them from. She had a boating set. I would look on Mod the Sims first for that. She has a number of things on Mod the Sims, so that's probably where I got these from. But anyway, these little canoes, I put them by the water line. And it's important. You might be thinking, well, why should I pay all this attention to this decoration stuff when I'm not going to be looking at the hood? I'm going to be in a lot all the time. Well, this brings up my next and extremely important little tip here. And that is this. In your user startup cheat file, it's very important if you want to see all your hard work from the lot view to put in a boolprop code that will allow you to see all your neighborhood decorations. And it's called boolprop, all one word, don't merge nhflora false. I'll put that down in the description. Don't worry about trying to type that out. And I also have it up here on the screen so you can go to 720p if you want to see it. But in any case, it's what allows you to see all the trees, and most neighborhood decorations, not all of them, will show up from the lot view. So it is very much worth your time to work on your hood, because you'll be able to see it from the lot. And I'm telling you, I love being, for example, in this lot and seeing the church spire all the way over here, or being on the mainland and in some of the lots that are closer to the edge here, closer to the coastline on the mainland, down here where I'm looking. I can see the lighthouse from there. I love it. I can't recommend it enough. Anyway, let's see some other tips. So make things natural. Look at pictures of a shoreline if you need to, or if you're lucky enough to live by one, try and think about how the world would naturally be, where rocks would naturally gather. And so, for example, I put a lot of rocks here because I imagine that they would kind of tumble down or wash up here and end up piling up and creating a more natural shoreline. The next thing to share with you about is trees. Hit the mic there. Sorry about that. Trees are really important for fleshing out your hood. The best trees that I have, let's see if they are marked. I'll be putting a list of these resources in. I've gotten some trees from Garden of Shadows, so I'll put a link for those in. But I have found that it's best to avoid using the Maxis trees where possible because they are rendered extremely poorly. So they show up in your lot and they just don't look that good. So you want to get some custom content trees. Like I said, I'll put those in the description below. And then you want to think about how the land would look like before you started putting buildings down. It would be covered in trees. So there'll still be places where the trees might be there. For example, over here. So put trees in clumps. Now, I am not a botanist, and I really do not know anything, and I do mean anything, about how trees grow together. A person who might be used to trees might be thinking, these trees would never grow with these trees, so I fail in that way. But, for example, over here on the hills, I put the bigger trees, because they would be allowed to grow without having been cut down too much. And then also with Bon Voyage, and most of these trees came with Bon Voyage, these bigger ones, these pines. Bon Voyage has little stumps, trees that have been cut and stumps that are left over. So I placed those around for some visual interest because I imagine that they have gone up into the woods, cut down some trees, and brought them down here to build with. Last tip that I've done here is, and trees, like I said, you want to use trees in bunches, except places where you have avenues, for example. These flags here come with the base game, and they are over here in the landmarks section. And I'm going to zoom in because I want to show you a couple things here. Since these things show up in hood decoration, in lot view, I can't stress to you enough. I mean, I really can't stress to you enough how nice it is to take the time to do the details. Plus, also, I just really like doing it. I love putting little signs like here, where the school is. There's a sign that comes with the game that allows you, it shows you a little children crossing sign. I put that down wherever my playgrounds are. These flags denote different meanings in my head for why they're there. And they are here in this area. Let me see if I can find some. There's some, these are the ones that are in my university area. And you can have pirate if you have you can make a whole pirate world if you want to. And there's the original of that. And so I created this as sort of like a city, the city saying, hey, there's a festival going on perhaps, or this is the flag, official flag of the city. And I even took the time to put flags, different flags in different areas. This denotes the flag for the university area. There are sub-hoods that come with the game that you can use, but I don't like loading screens, and that's one of the biggest complaints about The Sims 2 are the loading screens. So I highly recommend that you try this method of putting everything on one lot. On one hood. You don't have to do sub-hoods for everything. I have my business downtown area across the bay. I have my university right here, so I don't need to really go anywhere, and that just appeals to me. I have my shopping districts, here. Let's see, what else to show you here? I'm trying to show you every little thing that I have. By the way, if you have any questions, I don't explain how I do one thing or another, then, please let me know. The details. I actually spent several evenings going around and placing these individual streetlights. And it has made a world of difference. Because they light up, if I'm not mistaken, during pictures. They do light up, actually, now that I remember it. And they add a lot of interest. These little traffic horses here and cones behind them to note that this area is reserved just for the trucks that are picking up the cranes. The more ideas I give you, I'm hoping you'll be able to put into place in your own hood. There are so many little things. This trash can, for example, is part of a Maxis decoration. So I invite you to dig around in your neighborhood's decoration folder because there's quite a lot in there. Let me see if I've hit everything that I wanted to tell you about. I think I have. There's one more thing that I wanted to show you about, and that is, you'll notice there are Sims in these houses right now. In fact, there are Sims living here. I'll just go over here to show you. So yeah, there are Sims living here. And, oh, the computer has a little fart while it takes a bit to load. Hold on a second. Okay, so there are Sims living here, but you'll notice that there are no Plumb-Bobs in my hood. And I was very pleased to find a no Plumb-Bob mod. So if you have watched my Sims 2 Let's Play series, you'll see that the Sims never have Plumb-Bobs over their head. And despite my initial fears that I might forget which houses Sims are in, or I might lose a Sim on a lot somehow if they didn't have their Plumb-Bob, that has never happened, and I've never lost a Sim yet. The No Plumb-Bobs mod, No Plumb-Bobs mod is by Javiera. Javiera is at livejournal.com. That's VIERA, Javiera.livejournal.com. But that link will be below, so don't worry about it. And she has a lot of stuff here. Over here on the left-hand side, it says old stuff. Click there. And then click under a cut. And then click TS2 folder. And it has a lot of her old content, which I'd recommend that you take a Saturday and go through because there's some great stuff in there. A lot of defaults. But the thing you're mostly interested in from this standpoint is the No Plumb-Bobs mod. And so yeah, that's the mod you're looking for, but I'm going to put a direct link to that mod in the description box below. So that's how I get the final look. No Plumb-Bobs, no cars, well, no cars running around. There are cars parked on the street. And I do recommend parking your car on the street because it adds a little bit of visual interest there to have the pickup truck parked outside of the farmer's house. I love that. I do believe that I have shown you all that there is to see about Acanthop Isle and the mainland across the bay. I want to thank you so much for joining me during this tutorial series. If you have any questions, hit me up in the comments below. And as an ode to inspire you, and as an ode to some of those incredible hood creators out there who have done amazing things, I am going to put a little slideshow to music to finish up this video that shows you some of my most inspirational hoods that I have seen in the Sims 2 community, with a little credit to each creator. So I hope you enjoy that slideshow. And as always, I want to thank you so much for watching. Have a great evening. Get every new Jessa Channel video right in your email inbox. Subscribe, then from your YouTube homepage, click Manage Subscriptions, then check Email with new uploads. And thanks